one, fight!
What is going on, BW Sports One World? It's your boy, the Lion, and we are here with the debut show of Combat Zone. That's right, baby. It's all about the combat here in the Combat Zone. This is the debut of my heart. I love football, but man, do I love some combat sports. Boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, we're going to cover it all. And today, we got some special guests. We had some interviews over the past week with some special people. We're going to put some excerpts in there too. We also got the UFC fight night coming up tomorrow from Fight Island. Finally back to Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Show starts at noon with the prelims. 3 o'clock starts the main card. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. We're going to start off with... we're going to start off by talking a little bit about what we got going on with the UFC. So let's transition. The main event tomorrow day. Max Holloway coming back in the octagon against Calvin Kattar. Max Holloway sitting 21-6, his record against a 22-4 Kattar. Both height is equal. The weights, obviously, the weigh-ins happen today. We'll see. Make sure everybody's on point with the weight. Kattar does have a slight arm reach advantage with about 3-inch advantage over Holloway. The leg reach, however, is in advantage by 2 inches to Holloway. The odds are favoring Max Holloway in this fight at a minus 165 to a plus 135 for Kattar. It could go either way. I mean, let's look about it a little bit. Okay, so you got Max Holloway. We all know his name. Calvin Kattar, a lot of people should know his name, and if you don't, you should probably go look him up because you're sitting here, and they both are they're both good strikers. Okay, they both got a knockout TKO win at about 50% of their fights. The difference that I'm looking at is a little bit of an average time going to Max Holloway as far as being in the fight a lot more. It's about 5 minutes he's averaging a little bit more in each of his fights compared to Kattar. I don't know if that's going to be a major issue in this fight. The significant strikes that landed per minute, they're not too far off of each other. Holloway's at a 6.7, Kattar's at a 5.3. They're gonna bang. They're gonna hit each other with significant strikes at a 44 to a 41% significant strike landing average. The defense is where you're gonna see it, and they both have some outstanding defense. Grappling is where it's going to come down to, in my opinion. Now, takedown defense, they both have a pretty good percentage rate on takedown defense. Max Holloway has an 85% takedown defense. Calvin Kattar has a 77% takedown defense. Takedown accuracy is where you want to look at, guys. So you got Calvin Kattar at about just under a 30% takedown accuracy average. On the other side, you got Max Holloway, 83% takedown accuracy. That right there, in my opinion, will be the reason that I bet my ass on Max Holloway. If you're a betting person, I'm taking the 165 favorite and going with Max Holloway. So it's going to be an outstanding fight. I do see it going to the ground because of Holloway's accuracy and takedowns. It's going to be interesting. Now, if Qatar could put them hands on him early and get Holloway frustrated in wanting to have to go to the ground, it could be a whole nother story. You know, they say in football, any given Sunday, well, in fighting, it says any given fight, anything can happen. You know, it's the good old Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, if Qatar can keep the pressure on Holloway, Qatar could probably pull this out. However, I see Holloway winning this not with ease. It's going to be a good fight. I can honestly see it going, you know, the full round, the full length of the rounds. It could be interesting, but I'm going to put Max Holloway. And if you're betting, I'm going to go with the over 2.5 rounds win. And I would almost put a submission finish for Holloway on a bet. Up to you. Not going to tell you how to bet. Just bet responsibly. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you on betting is bet responsibly. Moving down, and I'm only highlighting, it's a decent card, but I'm only going to highlight today the top two, the co-main and the main event. So in the co-main event, you have two very well-known fighter names here. Carlos Condit coming back in, and Matt Brown, the immortal ones, coming back in. You know, Carlos Condit sitting at 31-13. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to see him fight in person when the UFC came for fight night here in Indianapolis. It was a great atmosphere. It was a great fight card. Carlos Condit has always been one of my favorites since he came in. I believe at that time it was the WEC. So, you know, this is going to be a good fight. Matt Brown is no slouch, 22-17. He's from the Cincinnati area, not too far away from us. I don't recall ever being able to see him fight in person. However, I would have loved to have seen it. Not saying I can't, but we both know that, you know, these guys are getting up in age. They've been in the fight scene for a while. God knows you can only take so many poundings to the head. Height, you got 2-inch advantage on Carlos Condit. He stands at 6'2". Matt Brown's at 6 foot. They're fighting at the 170-pound weight class. Arm reach is damn near identical, along with leg reach. A half-inch is only going in favor of Condit, with an inch on the leg reach. However, Condit is sitting at a favorite at 170. And the odds got Matt Brown being the underdog at plus 140. You know, this fight could go either way. I've seen both of these guys take punches. I've seen both of these guys get rocked by punches. It all depends on, you know, and obviously in a lot of fights, it's going to depend on how you take the hit when you're coming into your opponent. If you're coming into your opponent and you're throwing like this and he or she connects with a punch, depending on where that lands, you may take more of an impact, obviously, because your force of going towards that person and getting hit and stopped is obviously elevated compared to if you're standing on your feet, you know, straight, squared up and all that. I could definitely see this fight going all 3 rounds. You know, the win percentage in the KO and the TKO favors Matt Brown a little bit, with 63% of his wins coming by way of knockout or technical knockout, with only 48% being Carlos Condit. Now, granted, Condit is a submission specialist, so to speak. At 42%, he's ending his fights at 42% via submission, compared to Matt Brown's 29%. It'd go either way. I honestly think that Condit has a little bit better ground game than Brown. You know, again, I've seen these guys both bang with numerous people on fight cards, and they're both very good fighters. They're technical fighters. And anything can happen. You know, I keep saying that cliche, anything can happen, but it's the fight world, man. You take one fight in the right place, the right time, it's lights out for anybody. It could be a 300-pound guy taking it from a 180-pound guy. If that 180-pound guy lands that shot in the precise moment, in the precise area, it's lights out. Let's look at their significant strikes. Significant strikes landed per minute are right identical, damn near identical. You got 3.7 being Carlos Condit landed per minute, with a 3.8 going to Matt Brown. So you got a tenth of significant strikes landed more so with Brown than you do Condit. Now, significant strikes overall averages a little bit wider span compared to the two fighters. Matt Brown actually lands 53% of his significant strikes, where Carlos Condit is only averaging about 38%. Again, anything can happen. These guys both have power behind their punches and their kicks. Now, Condit, I think, has got a way better kickboxing ability than Matt Brown does. But Matt Brown can take punches, man. He can throw them right back. Defense on significant strikes is identical at 56 and 57%. So there's nothing there. Now, grappling, let's look at grappling. This is where the odds kind of throw me off a little bit. Matt Brown shows on paper that he's the better grappler. Takedown average is 1.5 to Carlos Condit's 0.61. Takedown accuracy, though, Condit has him at 55% of his takedowns. He's landing them compared to Matt Brown's 46%. Takedown defense is where I could see Matt Brown, and on paper, obviously, it's in his favor, but that's where I could see Matt Brown kind of winning in this fight, especially if it goes the distance. He could get that ground game working a little bit more, but he's got to be careful with Condit's long legs and his stance. His stature is just lengthy. He can get them legs wrapped around somebody's neck and pull that head in, and it'd be lights out for Brown in a heartbeat. But takedown defense is sitting at 63% for Matt Brown and only 36% of Condit. So if Matt Brown is thinking about going down to the ground in this fight, I think that's his better shot and option to do if he wants the opportunity to have his hand raised at the end of this fight. Anything can happen, guys. Again, it's the cliche that we say around the fight world. Any given fight, anything can happen. Yes, I understand that, but it is what it is, and I'm going to still stick with the favorite, Carlos Condit, winning this. I think this could be the fight of the night. I think definitely more so than Qatar and Holloway, just because the fighting styles of these two fighters put up against each other could definitely make this a hell of a co-main event night. So there you have it. There are the spotlight fights for this weekend. There are no. There probably is some of the lower tier boxing promotions going on this weekend. However, there's plenty of boxing news coming up the next couple weeks that we will get to probably next week on the show. But right now, I mentioned earlier, we had some interviews with some fighters in the bare knuckle realm of the fighting world. And I just want to put some little clips in from each of them. I got 3 of them here. Our first one is coming out of GOAT Management. Thanks, Vince Anderson, for the opportunity that he gave me to interview this fighter. He's a big guy. I got a chance to watch the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship last event in December. And this guy was on it. I covered the fights, did a nice blog. Check it out, www.bwsports1.com. In the blog section, it tells about the fights. This guy, man, his name is Quentin Henry. He goes by Hero Henry. Watch out for him. This is a big man, and he fills the ring, the cage, however you want to look at it. He fills it with that look of, I'm big, this is my ring, this is my cage, and he's going after it. Now, he's got a nice big old fight coming up February 5th on the Paige Van Zandt Bretton Hart fight card, and he is fighting the crippler, Chris Lieben, So let's take a little look into, what we discussed with him, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, I think they cut the quote a little short. I think I'd said, I'll give him an honorable death, and I'm ready for one too. But
Right.
it was more, there's a certain type of fighter that you have out there, and I think Chris is probably the things that I've been saying about how MMA's changed and all the things compared to where it was when he first started. I think, strangely enough, me and him are a lot more similar than I think he believes, but. He's been through that and he sees that, and it's kind of the same way that I do. And the pleasure that we get out of bare knuckle is that it's about going out there and fighting, and that's what he's looking for. I don't feel like, a lot of times people call you out or they want to fight you. You take it as like a disrespectful thing, but in my
Hmm.
case, no one called me out and no one wanted to fight me. I had, after every one of these bare knuckle events, every time you got a guy that wins, this happens. Well, then everybody and their mama's on Instagram wanting a shot at him next. I went out there and put these dick beaters on old boy, and he couldn't get up anymore, and didn't nobody want to say my name. And I
Yeah.
understand why. I'm not mad at him for it. I just thought it was kind of funny. So, when somebody like Chris Lieben comes at you to fight you or asks to fight you, he's not asking to fight me because he thinks he can beat me. He's asking to fight me because he knows if he loses, there's no damn shame in it. And he wants a real fight. And that's the same thing when I'm fighting him. I feel like I'm a way more technical boxer than he is, but at the same time, what he has, he's really good at. And that's why he's been able to do this for so long. But the best thing that the dude has is he wants to fight,
Hmm.
and that's why he picked me. He might say otherwise, but he picked me to fight me because no one else wanted to fight me, and he wanted to say that he did. And
Yep.
I get down with that. I'm about that life. So
Oh yeah.
that's what he wants. I want to give him that. And I've been a huge fan of him. My whole life since he came Ultimate Fighter. Like we were saying earlier, one of the things about Chris is that he was one of the first fighters that you felt like was real.
Hmm.
There were a lot of guys that were trying to put on a show and have a little bit of a personality so they could get their character in this. But that dude didn't give a damn
Not
at
at all.
all. He was Chris Lieben, and he did what he was going to do, and he came out there and he fought like he was going to fight. And I think there was a lot of respect for him in that sense because that helps you connect to him because he's a normal guy. Now, I'm a normal guy, you know what I mean? Like I got kids, I take them to school, I drive around, I wash my own dishes and shit. So being able to connect with somebody like that is a big deal. And I I think he's going to go out. He wants one more fight, and I think he thinks the way that I do. If it's going to be my last fight, it's going to be a fucking banger. And if I don't help out with that, then I'm letting everybody down.
That was Quentin Henry out of BKFC. He's getting ready to fight February 5th on that card. It's going to be a good one. If you want to see the full interview, check out the YouTube channel at BW Sports 1. It's all up there. Now, moving forward to our second interview of the week, we got John Lee Schallback, and he's making his BKFC debut February 5th on that same card. He had a quote. I do some research on everybody that I interview and talk with. He had a quote that I saw that he loved, and I wanted to ask him and have him explain the meaning to him behind the quote. So let's hear from John Schallback out of Smith Brothers Combat Sports. Kind of looking over and researching you a little bit, I seen one of your favorite quotes, and I need you to elaborate on the BW Sports One world for us. The juice is worth the squeeze. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that means to you?
It just means that whatever you're gonna go into, you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot if you want it bad enough. And you know, you have to really decide, how bad do you want it. And when it comes to fighting and putting myself out there in front of everyone and fighting for my family, you know, I know if I go out like that, I definitely did doing what I love, and not everybody can choose their way, so that's what it means. It means every time I step in there, you can get killed. And that's why I have nothing but respect for fighters. And if you're willing to get in there in front of everyone and put your life on the line in front of people who will just criticize you, then I got nothing but respect for you. And that's what that means.
I like it. I like it. Well,
Especially when it applies to fighting. You can apply that to pretty much anything, but when it applies to fighting, I'll go out on my shield either way.
again, that was John Lee Schaubeck out of Smith Brothers Combat Sports down there training at Smith Brothers Combat Gym down in Florida. Thank you, Kevin Smith, for allowing me the opportunity to interview this guy and the following interview that we ended the week with so far. Oh, and what can I say other than she has me as a total fan now. If I wasn't a fan before, if you weren't a fan before, you will be a fan of Hart 4.0. That's right, Britton Hart, as she takes on the debut of Paige Van Zant at BKFC. Now, to me, BKFC is boasting Paige up, and this is no offense to Paige at all, so please nobody take offense that I'm throwing shots at her at all, because she's an extraordinary fighter, or she wouldn't have been in the UFC. However, this now is bare knuckle. It's not MMA, it's not boxing, it's totally different. Britton Hart has been in this. I don't care if you say, oh, she's lost, oh, she's won, blah, blah, blah. She's a badass, okay? And her mindset helps her achieve her goals. Take a listen as to what Miss Hart had to say with me earlier this week. Explain to the world, you got your first love in boxing. You got that means to funnel that energy into something good and positive in boxing. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to switch over from putting those big gloves on to going to nothing?
So it's crazy because a lot of people naturally ask that question. And it's something that I'm not being cliche or cheesy, but it is something that truly found me. I did not go looking for bare knuckle. I really didn't. And they hit me up probably about 3 or 4 times. I was training for this big fight in Atlantic City in New Jersey. And so I told them, no, thank you, but keep me in mind for other opportunities.
Explain to the world, you got your first love in boxing. You got that means to funnel that energy into something good and positive in boxing. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to switch over from putting those big gloves on to going to nothing?
So it's crazy because a lot of people naturally ask that question. And it's something that I'm not being cliche or cheesy, but it is something that truly found me. I did not go looking for bare knuckle. I really didn't. And they hit me up probably about 3 or 4 times. I was training for this big fight in Atlantic City in New Jersey. And so I told them, no, thank you, but keep me in mind for other opportunities. Well, then they hit me back up after that. And I was like, dang, they might, they usually when you tell someone, no, thank you, you never hear back from them. But here they are calling again. And I was like, you know what? Nah, I don't think it's a good idea. Beck Rawlings. I really want to focus on boxing. And then we kept talking. They kept actually hitting me up. And finally, I was like, man, I don't want to go on TV and get murdered in front of everyone just because for money. I was like, I really am doing this to be the best. And I want to be the best fighter. And I feel like in boxing, I have that ability. And the person was like, you know what? I really think that this is for you, like your boxing style. And honestly, don't look at it as you fighting a UFC girl or this. Look at it fighting yourself and have an opportunity to be a star that you've always really been trying to be. And so I kind of was like, And I thought about it and I found myself asking, what do you think? Should I bare knuckle? And someone would be like, are you fucking crazy? No. And I got that response. Not everybody was for it. And then some people would be like, well, why not? What do you have to lose? So I found that I kept asking people. And I was like, the fact that I'm asking so many people and care about their opinions means that I'm looking for someone to justify it and tell me that it's okay. So I just said, to hell with it. This is obviously in my heart what I want to do. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I knew that I was going to give my 100%. I was going to wake up at 5 and run that country road every day. I was going to go to the YMCA. I was going to do pool. I was going to do whatever it took to do the best while millions are watching. And then I found it was for a belt. Dude, that was even I didn't when I agreed and said yes, I didn't even know that it was for the belt. So then I had that put in my head, and I was just like, I mean, I really had like a Hunger Games mentality. Like, I'm this girl from District 12 and they're from District 2 where they have money and they're ready and prepared for war. And here I am just fighting for a good cause, you know? And I've just kind of looked at it like that and went in, and man, you know, I gave it my all, and I felt like it was one of those feelings like I'm in the right place. Like, this is for me. It wasn't anything back, you know, even though, you know, I'd go back in time, I'd win, I wouldn't lose, but I would definitely do it. It's nothing that I wouldn't have started or, you know, I regret doing.
There you have it, folks. The wonderful Britton Hart 4.0 joining me. And thank you again to Britton, Quentin, and John, and Vince Anderson from GOAT Management, and Kevin Smith from Smith Brothers Combat Management, or Combat Sports Management. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk with these wonderful fighters and in light of their upcoming big card. One is a debut. The other one's getting ready to take on Chris Lieben. The other one's getting ready to take on Van Zant. So that's one hell of a card. Check it out. BKFC 16, February 5th, Lakeland, Florida, I believe it is. It's right outside of Tampa, is where the action will take place February 5th. I know I'll be watching my girl Britton, my guy Quentin, and my guy John on that card. You can check it all out on the BK Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships app is where you can check out that pay-per-view, and it's very minute. It's not UFC boxing 60, 70, 80 bucks pay-per-view. You can get it for $4 a month, $5 a month, something like that. Well deserved. I mean, it's a very valuable app for people in our realm. Now, I want to end this week's show real quick. We're not going to really get into it and dive in. I want you guys to bring your comments, questions, and concerns to the table, and we'll pick it back up next week. USADA came out yesterday saying that they were going to pretty much remove THC, marijuana, from the banned substance list in combat sports. UFC made it recognize that they're going with it. I'm kind of caught on it. Now, granted, I don't care what anybody does on their own personal time. That's what you want to do. More power to you. You know, just stay safe. That's all I ask for. Where I'm kind of caught on the fence is between the pros and the cons of marijuana in the sports world. Now, granted, I do not believe that it is technically enhancing my performance on the field, in the cage, in the ring. However, I do know, and I'm not against this at all, because I think that there are way worse things out there in the world to take and put in your body. But this is a very good herbal recovery supplement. Let's put it like that. Very good recovery supplement for your muscles. While you're working out, while you're training, you're breaking muscle fiber tissues. And it's breaking it down. Now, the supplement, THC, marijuana, and the numerous other supplements that are out there for muscle recovery, it's a benefit. It helps your pain. It helps with anxiety. Again, it helps with muscle recovery. It's better overall stamina, and bone and lung capacity is greater. Look that up, research it. I know, you think about, okay, you're smoking pot, you're putting toxins into your lungs. There actually has been proven factual evidence that marijuana helps the capacity in your lungs. It's something to do with, and I'm not technically sound on this completely. I spoke to a couple people, one of them being my actual personal trainer, Zach Dirr, over at Elite Performance. He's into this a lot. He's doing research on things left and right all day long. He calls himself a nerd like that. Dude, that's not a nerd. That's being on point. And if you want to make yourself elite, that's what I would do, is get with Elite Performance. But Zach, we kind of went over the pros and cons. This is his opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own. But again, the pros of it would be pain management, anxiety management, muscle recovery, better overall stamina with bone and lung capacity. Now on the flip side, you have the cons, which is overall fatigue, increased heart rate, your coordination and your slower reaction time, and dehydration. Now, in the middle of a fight, you need to be hydrated. You need to have your coordination. You need to have fast reaction times. You definitely don't need your heart rate to be going and exceeding any more than what it would when you're working out, when you're training, when you're fighting, when you're boxing, when you're doing all that. And definitely you don't want to be tired in it. So I'll leave you with this. And like I said, we'll pick this back up next week. It's not brand new to the world of fighting, because obviously there's numerous amount of people out there that have used it. And, again, I have nothing to disagree with as far as on the medical side of it being very beneficial, and I do see the cons. Now, granted, here's the question, that the main question and concern that Zach and I were talking about is, how do you regulate it, and how do you keep the fighters safe? You have to find some way to regulate it in saying, okay, if there's a test that says you are high right now, you're under the influence right now, and you're walking into a fight, that may be a safety issue. Now, my opinion, it would go solely on the fighter, not with the fight promotion, not with the athletic commission, not with any of that, because the fighter signs a waiver, signs the contract, and states, we are not liable for blah, 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 blah. Okay, so take it as you wish. I want to hear your guys' concerns, questions, comments on this topic through this week. Put it on our Facebook page. Put it on our YouTube channel. Send us DMs. Send us instant messages. Send us emails. info.bwsports1@gmail.com. We have a WhatsApp app number. If you're on WhatsApp, the app that you can text us. Shoot us some messages. Let us see it coming through. Let me know what you guys think about this in the combat world now. Granted, there's both sides. There's two sides to each story, so let's hear both sides. That's what I want to do. We want to debate. We want to discuss. We want to argue in a respectful environment, because that's what we do here. So thank you. This has been the debut of Combat Zone. Check us out, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time every Friday night. We'll be ready to roll. Next week, we'll be talking about this and some upcoming fights as well. Let's talk about that really quick. I want to show you what's going on in the coming weeks. We have next week, Wednesday, I believe it is, UFC Fight Night. Yeah, Shayza versus Magny. Next Saturday is the big anticipated return of the Irishman, Conor McGregor, as he takes on Dustin Poirier in their rematch fight. That will be covered and discussed next week on Friday night. I can't wait to talk about that. The following week, we have a big boxing match, Caleb Plant versus Caleb Trax, for the IBF Super Middleweight title that Plant holds. What will happen? We'll be discussing that over the next couple weeks as well, so stay tuned. Check us out again every Friday night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Combat Zone coming to you right here on BW Sports 1's Facebook page, YouTube channel. Check out the audio on all your podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Stitcher, iHeart, SoundCloud, and 30 million others. And if you want to go see what all the happenings are around BW Sports 1, check out the website, bwsports1.com. And this is your boy, The Lion, coming straight out the Lion's Den with Combat Zone. And we will see you next week. Peace!